Hello and welcome to a bonus episode of Anthology presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. My name is Matt Hurt, and if this is your first time listening, Anthology is my journey through the Twilight Zone as a first-time viewer. Each podcast, I review one episode of Rod Serling's iconic series and round out the show with a bonus review of a movie or show related to the week's main topic. But with Season 4 of Black Mirror recently premiering on Netflix, I'm covering each episode of the latest season of Charlie Brooker's Anthology sci-fi series in this bonus episode series. You can find more of Anthology at anthologypod.com, and for a full episode archive, including my bonus episodes covering Black Mirror's first 3 seasons, go to anthologypod.com/archive. And if you want to contact me, you can use the Facebook page at facebook.com/anthologypod, tweet me at OVAnthologypod, or send an email to matt@obsessiveviewer.com. And also, if you like what you hear and you want to support the podcast, the easiest way to do that would be to go to iTunes and leave a rating and review. The more ratings and reviews I get, the easier it will be for my show to stand out in the crowd of TV and film podcasts. And finally, if you want to show your support with your wallet, you can do that by clicking the donate button on anthologypod.com or by visiting patreon.com/obsessiveviewer to set up recurring donations. Any and all donations made will help pay the fees to keep the podcast running and are greatly appreciated. Today on the podcast, I'll be discussing Crocodile. It's the 3rd episode of Black Mirror's 4th season that premiered on December 29th, 2017 on Netflix. And as I usually do, I'll read a quick plot summary from IMDb, but from here on out, I'm going to be spoiling the entirety of Crocodile. So if you haven't seen the episode yet, go check it out on Netflix and come back and listen to it. So I'm going to go ahead and read the plot summary courtesy of IMDb. A woman interviews various people using a device that allows her to access their memories. And Crocodile stars Andrea Riseborough as Mia Nolan. She was previously in the movies Oblivion, Birdman, and recently in Battle of the Sexes with Emma Stone and Steve Carell. About the 1970s tennis match between Billie Jean King and I can't remember his name. But anyway, I just recently saw it. It was a pretty good movie. It was okay. I rented it on Google Play and it listed it as a comedy, but it's more of a historical sports drama. But it was a really interesting story, something I hadn't known about. Anyway, Andrea Riseborough also appeared in Bloodline, similar to Owen Teague from last week, or the last bonus episode I did. And finally, Andrea Riseborough is going to be in the Waco TV miniseries that's going to premiere later this year. I think that comes out in like March, and it's going to be with Taylor Kitsch. Co-starring in this episode as Shazia is Kiran Sonia Sawar. She has a lot of British TV credits. A lot of them, well, really all of them kind of went over my head because I hadn't heard of them. But I think this was a TV movie, Murdered by My Father, is one of them that appears to be one of the more popular ones. Writer for this episode was Charlie Brooker, and director was John Hillcoat, who he is a director that he directed The Proposition, and then he also directed The Road, Lawless, and 999. Now, The Road, Lawless, and 999. The Road, I've seen all 3 of them, but The Road is an adaptation of Cormac McCarthy's novel of the same name, and like the movie's beautiful. It's really beautiful to look at, but I feel like there was something a little lost in translation with the book to the screen. And then Lawless and 999 are 2 movies that Lawless is pretty good. It's like a Prohibition era outlaw kind of thing. Like it was solid. It was pretty good. But 999, like John Hillcoat is an interesting director because he has projects that have very famous people, like very, very talented actors in them, but they don't really leave that strong of an impression with me. And 999 is no different. 999 is a movie that I thought was kind of a mess, even though it had an incredible cast. It was about dirty cops, and I just didn't like it. But anyway, now he's directing an episode of Black Mirror. So when it comes to Crocodile, my initial thoughts when I watched it for the first time was that I actually really enjoyed it. It kind of felt like Black Mirror's version of a Coen Brothers movie to an extent. And I think that the kind of ending kind of left an impression on me. So that's what I thought going into my second watch when I was making my notes for the review. And I'll just dive right into my review. Once again, I'll be spoiling the entire episode, so consider yourself warned. So right off the bat, I still have no idea why it's called Crocodile. I'm kind of thinking that maybe there's something to the way that Mia is cornered. I don't know if this is what you would consider a crocodile to do, but I kind of get or I don't know if this is like a common expression, but maybe there's something to the fact that multiple times throughout the episode, Mia is kind of cornered into doing something that to kind of preserve her livelihood and the life that she's built for herself. So she is kind of cornered into attacking and killing, and maybe there's something there. Maybe she's the crocodile. Other than that, I really have no idea why it's called Crocodile. And I did kind of a rudimentary search on Google, and I couldn't really find anything or any statements by Charlie Brooker or anyone to corroborate why or to shed light on why it's called Crocodile. So right off the bat, the opening sequence is really gorgeous, particularly after Mia and Rob leave the club, and we get the shots of them driving, like in the mountains. And I meant to look up where this was filmed, so I'm gonna Google that real quick. But we get those like wide shots of the car just driving in a desolate road around mountains, and it's freaking beautiful imagery. And then, of course, they hit a biker, and they kind of jump into an I Know What You Did Last Summer type of scenario, where they have to kind of take the body and dispose of it. And what I like about that is that Mia in this is our introduction to the characters. And first of all, I thought it was a little jarring that we just kind of jumped right into these characters and doing this thing. We have no backstory. We just know that they were kind of partying. But we get kind of enough information, I guess. But I like that Mia is the one that's just kind of forced into the situation of dumping the body, and that Rob is the one who's kind of taking point, and he's the one that's kind of leading it. Oh, and it was filmed in Iceland. So anyway, okay, so the actual dumping the body and everything, it's funny how their roles are going to be reversed later in the episode, of course. But what I really liked about it was that it was just really, it's kind of disturbing how quickly Rob comes up with a plan. He's like, I have a sleeping bag in my trunk, and they go ahead and do it. They even go through the trouble. He's as clear in his mind. He's clear-headed enough to like put the stones in the sleeping bag. That was kind of disturbing. And yeah, so we just get that brief scene of them dumping the body and the bike, and then we go 15 years in the future where she is now a successful architect. The haircut that she has, it's kind of this pixie cut, and it's a blonde pixie cut, and first of all, I think it looks good, but it really ages her up a little bit. It shows us the passage of time. Like, she doesn't have that long hair. She's just kind of got this more, both the hair and the way she's dressed is very, very much a more business-like attire. So you can really tell the kind of the way that the progression of time throughout, judging from then to now. And we also see that she has a family, and she's got a kind of a good life, and she's about to go out of town for a speaking engagement she's giving, because she's a famous architect and everything. And so that's all set up, and then we get an introduction of Shazia, where we just get a brief introductory scene where she knocks on a person's door, and it's kind of introduced that she's a kind of claims adjuster for an insurance company. Now, this scene, what I like, first of all, before that, we get the recurrence of the song from 15 Million Merits. The Anyone Who Knows What Love Is, I think that's the title. I think it has another title, but anyway. Now, I've lamented the Easter eggs that are cropping up all over the place. But the recurrence of this song throughout the series' run is one Easter egg that I actually enjoy quite a bit. It came up in, Men Against Fire, and then I want to say there was an episode in season 2, but I can't place it. But I kind of like that it just pops up about once per season. And so the one thing that I liked, going back to Shazia's introductory scene, where she knocks on the client's door, is that I didn't catch this the first time I watched it, but like she looks in the window and she sees the woman put the neck brace on and grab the crutch, to clearly showing that she was faking the injury. And I like that Shazia is a claims adjuster, and she's not a detective. Because for the most part, for most of this episode, at least the first half of the episode, Shazia's storyline is separate from Mia's, and Shazia's part of the episode just feels a lot, it feels pretty reminiscent of Hated in the Nation, but kind of more grounded and straightforward. But I like that she's a claims adjuster, because that is, it's a job. It's not like a thing where, like, it doesn't turn her into this detective trope or this detective it doesn't fit her into this detective box. Like, I liked Hated in the Nation, or for the most part I enjoyed Hated in the Nation, but I liked the dynamic between, I think it was Karen and Blue, because that was a detective kind of detective storyline in a detective kind of style. But this is different, because it's just this girl that's doing her job, this woman that's just doing her job, and she gets kind of caught up in this really terrible chain of events, essentially. It's kind of jumping ahead a little bit. This is a very bleak episode, but I'll get to that in a moment. So, everything's kind of happening really quickly, because, or at least I don't have notes for each individual scene, as in as much detail, because a lot of the exposition at the top of the episode isn't really that, engaging or interesting. It's all just kind of putting the pieces in place for the episode. So then we're shown this driverless pizza delivery van, which I think is a really cool idea. And then actually, it was kind of interesting because I think around January 11th, Pizza Hut, I guess, issued a press release showing that they're actually partnering with, I think, Toyota to basically do, like, there's a concept for I'll just read it. In a press release, Pizza Hut said that it will be a founding member of a new mobility service business alliance, which will apparently take advantage of Toyota's new e-pallet autonomous vehicle platform. So essentially, they have driverless. It was introduced at CES in Las Vegas, I guess, but it's basically the exact same principle. It's a pizza delivery vehicle kiosk thing that's very similar to what's in this episode. But anyway, what's funny is that the Black Mirror Twitter account actually retweeted Pizza Hut's Twitter status of it. This was on January 8th, and all the Black Mirror Twitter account said was, "We know how this goes," which I was really I really got a kick out of. So, of course, the delivery van, the pizza delivery van, plays a bigger part later on in the episode, of course. But we'll come back to that. But I guess there's not really much else to say about the pizza delivery van, although it is an interesting concept, and it's fun to see that Black Mirror is again on the cutting edge of technology advancements, I guess. But so we get Mia and Rob kind of reuniting at the hotel, in Mia's hotel room. And I originally thought that Mia and Rob were having an affair and that this was an ongoing thing. But from as far as I can tell, it doesn't seem like that's the case at all. Cause she says that she remarks that it's been a few years. This is where I was kind of, in my first viewing, I was a little confused by this, cause she says that it's been a few years. And I kind of thought that, at first I took that to mean that it was a few years after what had happened. And then, obviously, that's negated when she says that it was 15 years. And also that makes sense because now she's married and has kids and everything. But I kind of assumed that it was an affair thing, but I think it was just remarking that it's been a few years since they've met, or since they've been, like, cross paths, essentially. And I really like the kind of reversal, the role reversal in this sequence, because Rob he's now, like, he's sober and he's trying to make amends for everything. And he tells Mia that, hey, I found who the man was, and it's weighing on my conscience. And I really like the role reversal here, because Rob, at the time of the accident, Rob did the unthinkable specifically because he would have gone to prison if they were caught. Like, there was a chance that he would be sent to prison for it, and there was no way that he was going to let that happen. His life would have been over. And on the flip side, Mia was kind of roped into it, and she had a conscience about it. And in that opening scene, she immediately went for her phone to call the police. So she had a conscience about it, and she's had to live with that. But now in the hotel room, Rob is thinking clearly. He's sober. He's feeling remorseful about it, and it's been weighing very heavily on his mind. And he's the one that has a conscience over it. Whereas Mia, now she's built something for herself, and she knows that if the truth gets out in any way, it's going to shatter her entire world. Her life would be over. Her professional life and personal life and everything. So it's just interesting to see that role reversal at play in this moment. And what's really interesting is that it isn't even like he wants to come clean and go public about it. He just wants to write an anonymous letter to the wife of the man that they killed. And like he tries to assuage her worries about it by saying that it's going to be anonymous. She's not going to know who it's from or anything. And then she's just like, you can kind of see her brain kind of working, because he's like, no, they have ways to track it. They'll know it's where it's from. They'll track it down and everything will be done. And I kind of wonder if at that, but like, and then of course to kind of go through the rest of the scene, he gets up to leave, and then she kind of hugs him strangely, and then murders him with her bare hands. And I kind of wonder, at what point did she decide to actually kill him? Because when she's kind of working through, like, they have ways to track you down and everything, it kind of makes me wonder if she's starting to think like, oh, I'm gonna have to kill this guy, or if it's when he gets up to leave, or I don't know. Because when she's hugging him, I don't really understand why she does it that way. I feel like it's like she just wraps her arms around him, and it seems like she's just trying to get him to stay, but it also kind of seemed like she was maneuvering him purposely toward the wall to kind of push him up against it to get, I guess, a physical advantage over him, I guess. So it was kind of unclear, like, exactly what her mindset was, but I mean, that was kind of to a good effect for me viewing it for the first time, because it was definitely a shock when she killed him. And I really didn't know that was where the episode was going to go. So I was very pleasantly surprised by that. It was just kind of somewhat of a bizarre scene, the way that it was choreographed and the way that it was done. It just didn't, there was a weird kind of lack of connection, with me viewing that. I couldn't really track the motivations or anything. So after that, we go back to, Shazia and her life, essentially. So she's home, and we get the introduction of the guinea pig, which is such a fun surprise at the end, which I'll talk about, of course, later. But the guinea pig's name is Codger, by the way. So she says, okay. So she says that the guinea pig, and okay, so in the previous bonus episode, I did mention that I'm single and have no kids, don't really think I'll ever want to have kids or anything. But, so maybe what I'm about to say is because of that, but, Shazia tells her husband, she's like, she says that that the guinea pig will be good for Allie. Presumably Allie is the baby. So, I mean, maybe this is insensitive or whatnot, but why? Why? I mean, I don't understand what the appeal of having a guinea pig. I don't know how that would be good for a blind kid. Maybe I kind of wonder if part of the scene also had Shazia talking about how they have so much going on with the kid. And so I kind of wonder, there was something in the phrasing of it. I didn't mark down the exact quote, but there was something in it that made me think like, well, maybe they're going to have like maybe the kid's going to have some kind of operation where it'll get, the kid will get, its sight back, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, obviously that scene had to seed the whole guinea pig thing. And also, I mean, maybe I'm reading too much into that because it could just be that Shazia was trying to, make her husband feel better about the birthday gift that he gave her. So anyway, then we kind of bounce back to Mia's, story in the hotel where she puts on porn, which I thought was kind of interesting. Which of course we get a reference to Wraith Babes from 15 Million Merits, which again that's another Easter egg that I didn't really mind, and I'll talk about that here in a moment. But before that, the whole process of Mia getting Rob's body out of her hotel room and into her car is really ballsy. First of all. And I guess kind of clever, but it's really ballsy. She takes the housekeeping or the room service tray or cart and puts his body on the bottom part of it, and then just takes it down to her car and loads him up. But the interesting thing I found about the scene where she's walking down the hall pushing the cart is that she's looking around. She's very on edge. She's very alert. She's looking around, and it was interesting because when I was rewatching it, she's looking around, and I was wondering if that was because, like, when I first saw it, I just assumed it was because, she's keeping an eye out to see if she sees if there are any witnesses or anything like that. But having the context of the full episode in my mind when I rewatched it, it was interesting to wonder that given what she does throughout the episode, it's plausible that what she was doing was she was keeping an eye out, and that if someone were to catch her, she would have just murdered them there. If they found her. And that's kind of really disturbing to me because she's a very disturbing character. And that's kind of a disturbing sentiment. So anyway, so she goes and puts him in the car, and then there's this really creepy scene. It was pretty creepy. Where she's in the car and she's kind of waiting for the construction workers to close up, where she's going to dump the body. But the phone call in the car, like, that's such a chilling moment and kind of depressing moment. So she talks to her husband, and then he puts on her son, and she's talking to her son, and I love the way that the camera just slowly pans back to the back seat, where Rob's dead body is just sitting there. Like, the juxtaposition of that, the panning of the camera to the back seat, with her having a conversation with her young child is just, I really like the tone that strikes. It's very disturbing and kind of eerie, and very messed up. So then we get to where she is going into the construction site to dispose of the body, which, first of all, I mean, not to be too, I don't know how this is going to sound, but that's kind of an effective way to dispose of a body. Like, she opens the grate and she just drops him down. I don't know what is meant, like, I don't know what was down there. I don't know if it was going to be like whatever is down. I don't know what the likelihood of him being discovered would have been, but kind of effective way to dispose of the body. But what I do want to mention is that when she goes into the construction site, there is a sign posted that shows that it's her obviously her architecture firm, her building and everything. But the display on it is affordable living for all, eco housing with renewable power. Now, there's speculation online that she's the actual architect of the housing system in 15 Million Merits, and the idea of renewable powers, like, you know, that's why they're cycling so hard in 15 Million Merits. And I could buy that, especially with the song being recurring in this episode, and also Wraith Babes being referenced, as well as Hot Shots later in the episode. But again, like I said last time, I don't care. I really don't care about a singular timeline for this series, but it's an interesting thought to kind of bring up and help detract from the actual point of the episode, I guess. And so at this point, I really liked how unlikely it felt that Mia and Shazia were going to cross paths. Like, the plotting of the episode, like, they set it up purposely that these two characters were completely independent of each other, and it just seemed like each one had their own their own story arc. Like, it seemed kind of hard to determine how they were going to cross paths. And so after that, and this is also interesting, so we get the second scene with Shazia and a client, or I guess, what would you call? I work for an insurance company. What would you call that? Injured party, I guess. I don't know. I work for a life insurance company, so I don't deal with like claims like that. But anyway, it's interesting because this is the second scene we get with her job essentially, and I kind of feel like I was kind of surprised that this is the introduction of the whole capturing of memories and everything, and that kind of technology, which I can kind of respect because it does set it up to where it is kind of a slow burn to set up the conceit of the episode and the kind of Black Mirror-esque technology and everything. Because I guess one of my issues was that it's just kind of weird that we would have a scene where she's that introduces her as a claims adjuster and seeing a woman clearly faking an injury and everything, and then later we have a scene with another person that shows like the technology she has. It just seems kind of like a weird choice in terms of exposition and everything, that we would have a somewhat superfluous scene where she is just introduced as a claims adjuster, but like, why not just kind of economize things and have a claims adjuster scene with the woman faking, and then also have the memory thing introduced there. But then also, like, I just complimented how strong the plotting of the episode is, and I guess like that initial scene was meant to show that, you know, that's what she does as her job, is she checks to see if people are lying about claims and everything. And I guess we didn't really need the technology aspect of it. Plus, it does kind of make it's not until we're introduced to that we realize that that's how things are going to come into play with Mia and Shazia. So, I mean, it is a little bit more time spent somewhat in the dark about how these characters are going to intersect, which is always good for like tone and the suspense of the episode. So the actual technology, the kind of recollection recorder, or whatever you want to call it, is really like one of my, I don't know if I'd say it's one of my favorite Black Mirror technology things, but it's a very interesting concept. Like okay, and I'm eating my words throughout this entire review. I know I am, but while I have had some issue with how similar the tech in the series is, this is a really cool meld of familiar Black Mirror technology. Like, it's clearly the TCKR technology, and it's a great meld of that with something new. So like, they're using this type of technology to read someone's memory. And also the fact that the actual display and it looks like a small, like, portable tube television, like the way that it's shown to be very rudimentary is kind of cool. And considering that we just saw an episode with like the pristine tech of Archangel, it's a nice kind of change up to go to something that's kind of looks like you'd have to smack it a couple times to get it to have an accurate reading. And so I just like the idea of recording people's memories in order to get a clear picture of what occurred and get a clear picture of an event. And I like the idea of kind of the way that Shazia explains is that they kind of take different recollections from different people to kind of create a mosaic of what happened. And obviously obviously memory is subjective, and there's some kind of cool things that they do with that here in this episode going forward. But it's just an interesting concept to introduce into a Black Mirror episode. And so at this point we're about halfway through the episode, and Mia goes home and her husband says that I guess the next morning or that morning, she says that tonight is the play. And now I know that the play that she goes to is the end of the episode. It's just surprising that as much as I really enjoyed the plotting of the beginning of the episode, it's just when I was rewatching, I was like, the play is that night. So the rest of the episode takes place over the course of that one day. And it's just shocking because so much happens in that one day. And it's kind of, it's just surprising to me that the second half of the episode covered such a short amount of time. But it really works for the story because at this point we are kind of going into, it's kind of a breakneck kind of speed thing for the most part, which I'll get to in a moment. Now, having seen the other episodes at this point as well, because the way I do Black Mirror episodes is I watch the whole season on my own, just without taking notes or anything, just kind of absorb it, and then go back and rewatch the episodes and take notes for reviews. So when I saw Shazia with the candies or mints or whatever she has, like that triggered something of a memory to me. Like I kind of, like at the moment when I was rewatching the episode, I was wondering if there was, like, I was trying to remember if there was something about the candy that she eats, or if that was in another episode. maybe kind of ironic for this episode discussion, but I don't remember if it does come into play later with it's used in some other episode for a similar effect or for a more plot-centric event, or if it's just something that I'm conjuring up in my mind because my memory sucks. But I just remembered that, and then it didn't pay off in this episode, so maybe I'm confusing with something else entirely. So as much as I like the pacing of this episode and the kind of disparate plot lines of Mia and Shazia, there's one moment where, like, there's a stretch of time. It's not that long of a time in the episode, but it's enough to kind of make me kind of waver my attention a little bit. But there's a moment where, like, Shazia is interviewing. I think she's interviewing the woman that the man sees, that the injured man sees, and then that's kind of cross-cut with Mia kind of continuing to cover things up. Like she was staring at the newspaper article that Rob had, and she's kind of, you can tell, like Andrea Riseborough does a really good job of internalizing the guilt and the fear that she's experiencing, that the character is experiencing in that moment. But it just seemed kind of dry that we just had this kind of stretch of time where Shazia is just interviewing someone and Mia is getting rid of the evidence, cleaning out her car. It just felt like it just kind of dragged just a little bit there. But the thing with kind of the plus side of that is that it's shown that Shazia is very good at her job, and she's a very personable person. Like, she just seems like really sweet and like genuine. And that makes her run-in with Mia so, like, even more tragic and terrible. So, like, she interviews the dentist, and she's like, he's kind of nervous about the whole memory thing because he doesn't want, the fact that he was kind of a peeping Tom come into play or like be like exposed or anything. And so she's very personable. She's like, yeah, I'm not, it's fine. You're okay. It's okay. But one thing that I did really like about this is that the whole concept of the technology is that memory is subjective and everything. And I love the scene where, the dentist says that, the guy, like one of the guys in the memory was wearing a green coat, and then Shazia says like, oh, it was actually yellow. And then you see on the screen, you see it change from green to yellow. I thought that was a really cool thing to, like, a really cool flourish to add to this display of technology in this episode. And then after that, we get Shazia asking for information about Mia at the hotel. And I mean, that's fine too. It shows that she's personable and everything, but it just seems like kind of a lot of legwork. Like, I mean, it tracks well. It makes sense that that's how she gets the information, but it just seems kind of dry. And then of course the clerk at the desk references, something about the judge of hotshots being caught with a boy, in the hotel, and that's why he can't release information or something like that, which that's fine. That's okay. And then we finally get kind of the, joining or the meetup of Mia and Shazia. And it's a really compelling scene because Shazia like I said, she's just a very genuine person and very straightforward. And she's just like, hey, I just need to get some information about this accident that you were a witness of. And then I kind of feel like maybe it's because she had mentioned to her husband that she gets a bonus or something if she completes it that day or something to that effect. But the fact that she tells Mia that she would have to get, like, it's part of the law that she has to kind of give any information she can for that for the case or for the claim. And I mean that's kind of counter to what she said earlier about kind of the legal precedent set, or not really legal precedent set, but like, that's kind of counter to what she said earlier, because it's led to believe that, it's obviously very optional and everything. But I kind of feel like that's maybe Shazia just trying to get the information she needs, so that she can get that bonus or what have you. But yeah, so, and I mean, I guess, I don't know. And regardless of the details of that, I thought that the actual scene with the scene between them is actually really intense, because Mia is just completely trapped. She's back against the wall, and like she goes into the kitchen to make some, I think she was making tea, and like it's just this very kind of eerie moment where she looks and she sees the knife, like she's staring at the knife on the counter, and it's just like, it's just really just eerie. That moment's very unsettling to me. And then the actual memory read is very intense, because you get there's a moment where you kind of, like, after she remembers the van hitting the guy, like you kind of think for a moment it's like she would have been in the clear, everything would have been fine if it just stopped there. Of course, if it stopped there, of course, Mia probably never would have been caught, but I mean, an entire family would have survived. So Shazia gets what she needs, and she sees the actual like murder and everything, and then she just tries to get out of there as quickly as she can, which, I mean, I could sit here and say that I have a problem with Shazia trying to get out and like not being subtle about it at all, but also, on the other hand, it fits well with her character, because like I said, she's a very personable character. She's very, she seems like a very kind and gentle person. So when she sees this just horrific act, and she knows that she's in the presence of someone who has killed, who now suspects that she would have access to that memory of her killing someone, of course she's not going to exercise subtlety when she tries to get out of there. So that track. The problem that I have is that the car not starting, that just seemed a little bit too much. Like, that seemed like it was just a little too cliche. It's too convenient. There wasn't anything to set up earlier in the episode that the car had any type of trouble. So it just seems like it's stalling just to get to the point where Mia can get Shazia. And to play devil's advocate with that, yeah, that's kind of okay, because when Shazia gets to the car, there's that false sense of security that the audience gets, that, oh, okay, she's going to be fine. She's going to get out of it, and then the episode's going to go a different route. But yeah, the car stalling was just a little bit too much for me. I kind of wish that they would have done they could have done something else to make it so that Mia could get to Shazia. And at that moment, because as much as I had problems with the car not starting and everything, I kind of wondered, the scene after that where Mia has bound and gagged Shazia. In that moment, it would have been a little bit more interesting, and even maybe it would have made the episode even too dark. But it would have been more interesting if Shazia never even saw Rob in the memory. Like, I'm kind of curious if that was ever considered in the writing process of this episode. Like, if you think about it, like, yeah, she saw the murder take place, like, she saw the memory of the murder, and that propelled Mia to take her and then murder her whole family and everything. But can you imagine, like, how much more bleak it would be if, like, it just stopped, like, the memory machine just stopped at the van hitting the guy, and then all of this, like, everything that happens after that is just because Mia assumed that Shazia saw what she was hiding. Yeah, I just think that would have been a more intense and bleak thing to put into the episode. But anyway, Mia covering her bases and using the actual recollection machine to verify that no one knew that Shazia was going to see Mia, that is so incredibly dark. Like, this is such a bleak moment for the episode. Like, yes, okay, Mia goes and murders her husband and very young child in cold blood later in this episode, and it makes for a very bleak ending. But this moment right here, where Mia is using the memories of Shazia to verify that no one knew that she was going to be there, is so dark, specifically because Shazia dies knowing that Mia was going to go after her family to keep them quiet. And that is just freaking brutal. I can't imagine, and again, Shazia is this very nice, pleasant person throughout the entire episode. Just the thought of her knowing that her family is going to come to harm because she had no choice but to, something out of her control. Her memory betrayed her to kind of expose them. That is just so heartbreaking and brutal and very bleak. Just that she dies knowing that. And this whole kind of the avalanche of violence that happens from here on out is where the episode feels particularly like a Coen Brothers movie. And what I mean by that is that, Mia is a person that's completely out of her element. She's going to great lengths to do just horrendous things that she's not at all prepared for or even necessarily good at. She's going on this murder spree to keep her secret alive, or to keep it so that she's not exposed. But she is not, she's not a killer in particular. But she's kind of going, it just seems like this, it has a Coen Brothers kind of feel to it. Anyway, she's kind of thrust into this thing where she has to do from her perspective, she has to do terrible things. So we get a scene where Mia is walking into Shazia's house and her husband's just sitting on the couch watching TV and messing around on his phone. And the way that Mia slowly stalks him throughout the house is very, very suspenseful and unnerving. Like when she walks in the door with the hammer, like the way that it's shown, she's dressed all in black, she has a hood up. And then you get like she's walking into the frame, and then you see the hammer, and you just know obviously you know exactly what she's planning. That's so like chilling. It's like a horror movie in that moment. And with the actual death of the husband, she waits for him to get in the bathtub, and his actual death is so brutal. And like her hitting him in the head with a hammer a couple times. Like the show doesn't shy away from it, and I like that she's propelled into that by her phone vibrating, because she still has like a little bit of, I don't know if that's part of her humanity still staying there, that she's hesitating because she's not like a cold-blooded killer exactly, or she's not like a practiced like hitman or assassin or anything, but like her reaction to the phone vibrating is to take action and actually kill this man, because she's so compelled, like she's so propelled by her need to keep her secret essentially. And then the moment where you hear the kid and she sees the kid in the crib is beyond messed up. Like, cause obviously you know exactly what she's thinking, that they can do the memory thing on the kid and we would, and she'd be caught. And then she moves toward the kid and then kind of cut to the musical. It's just so, man, that is so dark. That is so dark. And, I had this note that it's, like as dark as it is and as terrible and horrifying and monstrous as Mia is throughout this episode and is revealed to be in this episode, she at least made it to her kid's musical. So, I mean, she's not a complete monster, I guess. That's a joke. I can't, yeah. Anyway, and I also like the kind of, the relevance of the song in the musical, where the lyrics are, we could have been anything we wanted to be, and it's not too late to change. Like that is just like, it feels like a dagger at Mia. And I love the way that Andrea Riseborough plays that scene at the musical, because she's just sitting in her chair. Obviously she's mentally not there, and it's just she's trying to keep her emotions in check and keep her sanity, essentially. I don't know if I would go so far as to say sanity, but keep up the wall keep the wall intact within her mind, so that she's not showing that she's emotionally affected by the horrific things that she's in her mind had to do to survive. And I love that. And I love the juxtaposition of the music, the songs in it, because it's very self-reflective lyrics, and she's obviously, not in a position to really think about, her actions. So using the guinea pig's memories to catch Mia, I like that. It's a fun twist. It's kind of a clever kind of ending to the episode. But it kind of leaves some lingering questions that could be a little nitpicky, but I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't at least comment on them. But like, how could they have gotten the memory if they need the guide, if they need to guide the subject to the memory? Like each time that Shazia used it, like she had the beer to enhance the memory, and then she would guide them, saying like, okay, well, like asking them questions about the night, like show me the van hitting and what were you watching and stuff like that. But then again, like you can get kind of hung up on that, like the mechanics of the plot and everything. But I feel like, I didn't mark down the actual dialogue, but Shazia said at the beginning when she was meeting with the guy with the broken arm, that he makes a remark saying that he thought that only the police use the memory machine and everything. And she said that I feel like she said, like, I think it's implied that the machine that she had, the kind of machine that she used, was kind of a hand-me-down, and that the police use a more advanced technology. But then that's also negated because it looks the exact same when they have the machine up with the guinea pig next to it. But I kind of feel like maybe there's a stronger technology for the police. Or at least I got the impression from that scene earlier that the tech she was using was kind of rudimentary and not as advanced as what the police use. And then, of course, we get, the final scene where the police come to the musical, and then, we cut to black, and that's the end of the episode. And so I feel like I wasn't as in-depth with this episode as I was with Archangel, and most of that is because there wasn't, as far as characterization, it wasn't as strong a character focus as Archangel was. Because I got a lot out of the characters of Archangel, and even also USS Callister, which I keep forgetting to mention. I recorded this episode. I'm recording this episode about an hour after I recorded the Archangel episode, just a peek behind the curtain. But for both episode recordings, I'm wearing my new USS Callister shirt. But anyway, yeah, so I feel like there wasn't enough, like, kind of character to really dive into with it, but I do like the circumstances of the episode and the way that even though there's not, like, strong focus on character, there is a lot of dark character work being done. Like Andrea Riseborough's, and by the way, I don't know if I'm pronouncing Riseborough correctly, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, she does a really great job of internalizing the kind of guilt and the feelings that she's having during this 2-day stint, 2-day murder spree. And I do appreciate the episode for that. And I do like the technology used for it. So overall, I really like the episode specifically because of Andrea Riseborough's performance. I thought that was really great. And I thought that the storyline and the pacing of the episode, aside from a couple of little blemishes here and there, was really pretty good. Like really strong and really pretty good. And I don't know, I like the darkness of the episode. Like, it's a very dark and bleak episode that's kind of disturbing. But, in talking about it, I actually think I might rank Archangel a little higher than this one. Maybe. I don't know. I'd have to revisit both of them, but yeah, I feel like I got a little more out of Archangel than I did than with Crocodile, but both are really good episodes, and it's a good first 3 episodes for the season. Now, I do have a bit of a fan theory that Fence's Pizza is behind everything, because they wanted to cover up the negligence of their driverless delivery system. So I don't know how it would work out exactly, but I get I like the idea that, my personal fan theory is that the CEO or someone involved in Fence's Pizza convinced Rob to go to, this is ridiculous, to go to Mia, so that she would be, they used him as a pawn to get him murdered, so that her, part of the witness of the, at that point, premeditated, injury of the guy being run over by the van, so that it would be compromised and that they would get the claims adjuster murdered specifically so that they wouldn't be culpable or liable for the injury in the episode. So that's my official headcanon. And also to throw in, since the episode seems to be tied pretty closely to 15 Million Merits, I'm just going to go ahead and just assume that Fence's Pizza is the kind of the head of the dystopian future of 15 Million Merits. So anyway, that'll do it for this bonus review of episode. And I do want to mention, I forgot to mention this at the top, but with USS Callister, my bonus review of USS Callister, my friend Tony and listener Tony, he said, he made a note that I was pronouncing, I supposedly mispronounced the word ensign as ensign, which ensign is how I've always read it. And I looked up on YouTube and I showed him the YouTube pronunciation that it could be either one, but ensign makes a lot more sense. So anyway, if anyone was, wondering that, it is technically correct in both pronunciations. Anyway, I'm gonna end this episode because it's getting late and I feel like I've rambled a lot on here. Let me know what you thought of Crocodile and also of Archangel. Just, shoot me a tweet or send me an email or, comment on Facebook. There's a lot of avenues you can go to contact me. But anyway, if you like what you've heard and you want to help support what I do, go ahead and leave a rating and review on iTunes, or you can make a donation through PayPal by clicking the donate button on anthologypod.com. Or you can set up recurring payments at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer, which if you become a patron, you'll get access to a special RSS feed where I record film commentary tracks, specifically for Patreon, supporters. And of course, you can also check out my other podcasts and, my other podcasts at, obsessiveviewer.com/podcasts. Now, next time on the podcast, I'm going to be reviewing Back There, on the main feed for, as a main episode for, Twilight Zone Season 2. The bonus review for that is going to be 1960s adaptation of H.G. Wells' The Time Machine. Then soon after that, I will knock out my reviews for Hang the DJ and Metalhead. Very excited to talk about those two episodes of Black Mirror in particular, because I feel like there's going to be a lot to be said about that and about both episodes. So I'm very much looking forward to that. But yeah, having said all that, thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to Anthology, presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. For more of Anthology and a full archive of my episodes, go to AnthologyPod.com. And if you want to help support the show, the easiest way you can do that is by leaving a rating and a review on iTunes. You can also make donations to the show courtesy of the donate link in the show notes of each episode and on AnthologyPod.com. For recurring donations, you can become a patron at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer and just choose one of the Anthology reward tiers. If you enjoy Anthology, feel free to check out The Obsessive Viewer, a weekly movie and TV podcast I host with my friend Tiny and occasional guest co-hosts over at obsessiveviewer.com. You can also join the Obsessive Viewer Facebook group at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer. For book reviews and commentary on the world of reading, check out our sister site at obsessivebooknerd.com. And for philosophical discussions from a secular viewpoint, check out my friends Chad and Amanda at thesecularperspective.com. Finally, if you'd like to contact me with your thoughts on the show, my reviews, my bonus reviews, or for any other reason, you can tweet me at obsessiveviewer, send me an email at matt@obsessiveviewer.com, or send me a message on Facebook and like the Facebook page at facebook.com/anthologypod. Once again, thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.